The photo of Victor throwing a baseball was taken at his Malibu home, if I remember correctly. He was often on Perry Mason. Were Burr and him friends?
Yes, that was my Uncle Victor Charles who gave me that photo of him, dressed in a baseball uniform and winding up like a pitcher to strike me out. That photo was taken on the Malibu beach bluff, overlooking the Pacific Ocean at his home. I'll always cherish it. I believe Victor Charles had a friendship with Roman Burr far back when they were working together in the Perry Mason television program, and it continued on when being next-door neighbors.
Did he have a couple of good Hollywood friends? I only know Robert Mitchum and him were really good pals.
Yes, Robert Mitchum. And he were friends, and he enjoyed smoking a little marijuana on occasion with him. They were in the motion picture The Wrath of God, 1972. There are two other friends of his that many people may not know. It was actor-comedian Wally Cox, who supposedly had an intimate relationship with Marlon Brando in their early years of being actors. One can only imagine what kind of relationship Victor Charles had with Wally Cox. That, of course, is buried with both of them. And if they did have a sexual relationship, so what? Actor Robert Strauss, who was in the motion picture Stalag 17, won an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor in 1953. Robert Strauss was a friend of Victor Charles, and he came over to his home in Encino, California, for his Halloween night party on October 31st, 1965. I was living there at that time, and Strauss and I were good buddies throughout the evening. He was a very funny and kind man, and he treated me like his son.
Wally and Victor starred in Seduction of a Nerd in 1970, and it had lots of cheesecake nudity. It was truly bizarre, and personally I didn't like it. Do you think he made this movie for monetary reasons?
My Uncle Tony Edwards once told me that as soon as money flowed into Victor Charles's hands, it would be gone immediately. Money was always a great issue for Victor Charles, though. By the way, my Uncle Tony wasn't my real uncle, but he was part of the Buono family ever since he was a young teenager in the early 1950s. His birth name was Anthony Edwards, and he and his mother lived nearby the Buono house in South Mission Beach, San Diego, California. His mother was severely ill, and she explained to my Grandma Mert that she wouldn't be alive much longer, and she could take her little Anthony into her home when she died. That is exactly what happened. Anthony Edwards was made part of the Buono family for the rest of his life, and he was always my Uncle Tony. We were just talking about money, and did Victor Charles make cheesy motion pictures like Seduction of a Nerd only for monetary reasons? I would have to say yes. Television programs and cheesy motion pictures kept a roof over Victor Charles's head, but it was his acting on the stage that brought him the greater respect and fame. Many people may not know his theatrical background of acting on stage at the Old Globe Theater, which is one of the most 5 prestigious theaters in America. To this very day, whenever they're looking for an actor to play the role of Falstaff in Shakespeare's Henry IV, Victor Charles is the measuring stick and standard for that particular role. My Uncle Tony once said, when Victor Charles was playing in the role of King Tut in the 1960s television Batman series, whenever he got home, he would be screaming, "They're making me a whore!" And that is exactly what they were doing. Victor Charles was a classical trained actor. And when he was on stage, he was a mountain and he demanded everyone's attention. His amusing wit and gorgeous tone of speech was addicting to the ears and eyes to everyone sitting in the theater. It was 1959 that changed everything. Victor Charles was a budding stage actor on the climb, and his notoriety was rising, and he was only 20 years old. He was a giant among older men, and he was only a young man. His father made very bad decisions, ruining his personal life and ushering Victor Charles into being the provider of their home, clothes, food, and electoral bills, and providing a roof over his mother and younger brother's heads. A world of weighty responsibility came crushing down upon his shoulders at 20 years old. In 1959, everything was going well for him as a young man, but suddenly he was taken away from his youth and forced to become a man. There is much more to say about 1959. It was the ruin of a family, and this particular 20 years old then had to knit everyone back together. I don't fault him for the cheesy roles and motion pictures he acted in over his short career, because he didn't run away and hide or give up or cry like a baby. Victor Charles worked, and he worked for money because his mother and brother needed a roof over their heads and food for their bellies. Victor Charles was a professional actor, and he made his mark in Hollywood history. Not bad for a 20 years old that was 6'3" and weighing 350 pounds.